Gilgeous-Alexander spins, pulls up, jumper. Off the mark, won't go. Rebound, Neesmith. The Pacers with a chance to win it. Final seconds, no fouls to give. Halliburton looking. Halliburton driving, pulls up, jump shot. It's good! It's good! With 0.3 of a second remaining.
Gilgeous-Alexander gets inside, draws a foul, bangs it home. Another 33-point gem for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Halliburton on the drive. Can't get it. Toppin on the follow. Obi Toppin gives the Pacers a 7-point lead. Gilgeous-Alexander on the drive, pulls back. Baseline jumper's good. OKC with their first lead of the second half. Where Gordon, he can get hot. Williams has been hot all night, falling away. Got it. 40 points for Jalen Williams. Everything going down for the Indiana Pacers. They're 1 quarter away from a Game 7. Nembhard kicks it out. Toppin. Good contest from Dort. Halliburton falls down. He looks hurt. Here comes SGA the other way. Inside, and Williams throws it down. Halliburton's hurt right away when he fell. Of course, that strained calf. The Thunder have taken the NBA by storm. For the first time, the NBA champion resides in Oklahoma City. The storybook season is complete.
Last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder were crowned NBA champions for the 2025 season after a 7-game final series win over the Indiana Pacers. This was a really tough series for both teams, a really exciting finals, and honestly, I think this is, up to this point, the best finals we've had in the 2020s. And as we enter an era that OKC more than likely is going to dominate, I think this is going to be the best finals in the 2020s. This is the first time we've had a Game 7 since the Warriors-Cavs battles in 2016. You talk about that 3-1 comeback by the Cavs. It's been almost a decade since we've had a Game 7, and it's crazy to think about that was a decade ago already, but it shows you the parity that the NBA has had, but on the flip side that there hasn't been a ton of good final series since then, especially when you look at the 2020s. Obviously 2020, you have the bubble where the Lakers win 4-2 over the Heat. That Miami Heat team went on an absolute run to make it to the finals. They were back a couple years later. The Bucks-Suns, I think, was a very good series in 2021. That goes to 6 as well. That is a very memorable series. I think one of the better of the 2020s so far. Then you have the Warriors beating the Celtics, who got there early, a team that clearly was going to win a championship at some point, as they did. Then you have the Heat making the finals as an 8 seed, taking on Jokic and the Nuggets, and the Nuggets just take care of business. And then last year, you have the Celtics dominating the Mavericks. And then we get to this year, where we have a Game 7. This is a really fun series. Obviously, an injury to Tyrese Halliburton really changed the trajectory of Game 7. It was still a very competitive game, but if he's not hurt, I don't want to say that the outcome's different, but the quality of the Game 7 is definitely different. Now, I'm not one to take away the quality of a championship based off injuries. Injuries happen every postseason. There's been multiple injuries that got both teams to where they are. If you really want to break it down, you could put an asterisk on every single championship if you wanted to. That being said, Game 7, the Pacers ran out of energy, they ran out of effort, and they ran out of just ammo. They used so much of their ammo to keep that game competitive going into halftime. They had the lead at halftime. TJ McConnell played amazing in the third quarter, absolutely unconscious, but it was clear they were missing their leader the whole game, and OKC was able to open up a run and take care of business in Game 7. They were the better team. They have all the draft picks moving forward. I mean, this is a team that we're entering an era where they're more than likely going to win 3 to 4 more championships. The new dynasty is here. This era of parity is more than likely over. Obviously, the West is super competitive, and anybody can knock off anyone. And I'm hoping, and I think most NBA fans are hoping, we see that era of parity continue. But at some point, it is also good for the NBA to have a dynasty of some sort. I wouldn't be upset if we see OKC win 2 to 3 in a row, because it's good for the league. If you have a star like that, it makes it easy to pick your face of the league if SGA rolls off 2 or 3 championships in a row. But the West is super heavy, but OKC's super young. Indiana's super young. These are two teams that honestly I could see both being back here again next year. Obviously, without Tyrese Halliburton, it is going to be a struggle, so maybe not next year. But Indiana, I think, is set up very well to make another finals appearance in the 2020s. And obviously, OKC, they don't have to offer anybody contract extensions except for SGA, J-Dub, and Chet. They can just trade these guys for first-round picks, and they have more than enough shots to try and draft their replacement. A Lou Dort type of guy, you don't pay him at this point. You trade him for a first-round pick and a role player, and you use 1 to 2 first-round picks to try and replace a Lou Dort, and you're going to hit on one of those. When you look at like Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, those are guys that are getting solid bench minutes, and I would say most of them could start on most NBA teams, and yet you're a role player on the OKC Thunder. I mean, you can get rid of Lou Dort and replace him with Cason Wallace. Yes, it's not a 1-to-1 match, but it's a pretty similar style. And Sam Presti obviously knows what he's doing, is going to have them here year over year. So this is definitely an era where we're going to see a dominant team. It has been almost a decade since we've had this team that everybody fears and thinks going into the season, well, no matter what, you might as well put it in Sharpie, the OKC Thunder are going to come out of the West. I think that's what also makes this 2025 finals so special, is because if that does happen, the first of every single dynasty is always the most appreciated and always the most special. Outside of the Warriors one, obviously, with the 3-1 comeback from the Cavs, but you think about the first championship that the Warriors won, that is considered their best and their most prized. Now, if you look at OKC, again, bearing someone making some miraculous comeback on them, for OKC, this is going to be their most treasured, most prized championship because it's their first in Oklahoma City. They have not won one since they were in Seattle as the Supersonics. I think when you actually look and watch the basketball games, game 1, you have a game winner. How often do you have a game winner in the finals? You start the series off on that high note. You have a team that neither team had more than a 1-game lead. This was not a series that at any point was clearly decided. I mean, 3-2, 2-1, 1-0 were all your biggest leads up until, of course, 4-3 with the championship. So you go to game 7 and you didn't have any sort of 3-1, 2-0, anything like that. Just super good basketball for 7 games. Again, some of them obviously went to garbage time. That's going to happen in games. I'm not saying that the final scores, you look at those, yes, some of them, they're not the most competitive. But most games, you got at least 3 quarters worth of really good basketball. We also saw SGA break the curse of an MVP to win a championship. That hasn't happened since that first Warriors championship with Steph Curry in 2015. Again, a decade ago. So we have an MVP and a champion on top of the world. I mean, he has won all the major awards. This is the first time we've seen that in a decade. This is a very special championship. And for it to come in a 7-game gutty win, I don't see a world that this isn't the best finals in the 2020s, I would argue, since the Warriors dynasty. Obviously, you have some good ones in there. I'm not saying that there's no competitive ones, no good ones, but I think there isn't really an argument to say 2025 is and will still be the best finals of the 2020s. Again, barring somebody making a miraculous comeback or the Thunder dynasty never really becoming a thing and we stay in this era of parity. But I think everybody kind of realizes that this is the start of the OKC era. I originally had OKC in 6. However, in my heart, I wanted Indiana to win just to hold off this whole era for maybe 1 year. And Indiana, again, state of basketball, they haven't won in forever. I don't think they have an NBA championship. I know they have some ABA ones, but the state of basketball hasn't won at the highest stage of basketball ever. So to see that would have been awesome. That state would have gone crazy. OKC is another fan base that absolutely deserves it. I mean, you look at those stands, that is a organization who loves their fans, and their fans feed into the energy and love their team. So that is a more than deserving fan base. But they're going to see a lot of championships coming in, and we're going to see that fan base a ton. Looking back at my playoff predictions, I think I did pretty well on the Western Conference side. I think I got maybe 1 series wrong. On the Eastern side, I did get a decent amount wrong, including Indiana, who had an amazing run to the finals as a 4 seed. You knock off the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that is destined, it seems like, to win at some point. That's a very good team as well. And those 2 teams are going to compete like crazy. The Knicks are going to be awesome moving forward, at least I would assume, I would hope, because I am a Cat fan, so I'd love to see the Knicks and Pacers go at it. That's a rivalry that we haven't seen in a while at a high stage, and to see that was awesome, and I think we should be able to get that again, maybe not next year, again, because Tyrese Haliburton is hurt, but in the coming years, these two cores should stay together. Really young team, a lot of talent. Nembhard's a super underrated player. Benedict Matherin's a super underrated player. Miles Turner's been there so long, and I still think he's pretty underrated. I mean, he is probably a top 10 center, and he's constantly in trade talks. Like, he's a super movable piece. Obviously, Indiana loves him. And TJ McConnell has played himself into a massive contract. I mean, the Pacers have him locked up until 2029 when he's 36, so this is likely his last NBA contract. At $10 million, he is now going to be a legend for the Pacers. It's going to be probably one of the cheaper contracts if he can continue to play. You look at a guy like Matthew Dellavedova, who was on an expiring contract and has a playoff series, especially late in the series, something that TJ McConnell did in Game 7 and single-handedly put the Pacers on his back. Matthew Dellavedova was a free agent and got absolutely paid. TJ McConnell's already locked up. I don't think you'd hate making $10 million a year to live in Indiana and play basketball, so I think he's probably fine, but he is now an absolute legend for the Pacers. And really, this is a team that even if a TJ McConnell needs to get moved and you get a younger guy, the core is set. They are ready to go. This is going to be a team that's going to be in conference finals moving forward. And I'm really hoping that we get a rematch at some point. Again, I don't think it's going to be next year because of Tyrese Haliburton's Achilles injury, but I think in year 3, year 4 of this OKC Thunder run, I could see the Pacers knocking them off, and that could potentially be the better series than 2025. But all this to say, OKC is set up awesome. I think J-Dub is probably the most underrated player in the NBA. Nobody gives him respect. Even though he was on the All-NBA third team, I think he is the most disrespected and underrated player in the league. SGA more than likely is going to be the face of the league at this point because the Thunder are going to rattle him off. And Sam Presti's an absolute genius that can just replace this talent year over year. So the next 3-4 finals, get used to seeing parades in Oklahoma City. And this has been better than the last 4 or 5. I'm loving it as a basketball fan. I don't care what the ratings say because they're two smaller markets. The ratings aren't going to beat a Los Angeles or a Boston or a New York where there's massive cities. It's just a math problem. So ratings is always dumb to look at. The quality of basketball was the best it's been all decade. If you have a different opinion, comment down below. I would love to see what you think has been the best series of the decade and where this ranks in the 2000s all time, if this is just a run-of-the-mill finals that I'm overreacting to. But over the last couple of years, we've had a couple blowouts in the finals, so it's awesome to see competitive basketball. Other than that, I'm out. Peace.